And this is The Pulse, coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. Coming up this afternoon on the Bulletin, Trade Union Congress, Ghana cautions government to stay off the pension funds of workers or incur its wrath. We'll hear from leadership of the union, which has given government a one-week ultimatum to announce an exemption for pension funds from the government's debt exchange program. We'll get the latest from the Trade Union Congress. Also, top executives of the National Democratic Congress this afternoon holding a crunch meeting to forestall a recurrence of chaos that marred the National Youth and Women's Organization elections of the party. We have an exclusive interview with Alex Sogah, a leading member of the party, on the way forward, and mixed reactions continuing to greet the Ghana Union of Traders directive to all members of the business community to consider adjusting prices of goods and services as the cedi gains marginal stability. It's all coming up here on The Pulse. Stay with us. This is The Pulse. Is brought to you by Global Communities Digni Lu, affordable safe sanitation. Don't forget that we're also on your DSTV channel 421, Gold TV channel 144, and on social media handles, Facebook at JoyNews on TV. I'm Blessed Sogah. Do stay with us. We'll bring you the details shortly. And indeed, we are your election headquarters. There's a crunch meeting as we speak among top executives of the National Democratic Congress to draft out resolutions to forestall the recurrence of chaos that marred the National Youth and Women's Wing elections on Saturday. Two persons, as we understand, are sustaining various degrees of injury at the Congress grounds after the aftermath or altercations that happened between delegates. It took the timely intervention of the Ghana Police Service to contain the situation. Leading members of the party are currently meeting here in Accra. We can now take a listen to the chairperson of the National Planning Committee, Alex Sogah, who says that the party will be coming up with security modalities as the party elects its chairpersons and other national executives in the final lap of the party's internal elections. I caught up with him moments ago here in Accra.
Well, first and foremost, I must say that it was a successful conference. We now have a new set of executives for both the women's wing and the youth wing. It didn't pass without challenges, and the challenges actually stemmed from the delegates list. The women and youth cycle is very different from, that's for the Teyin and the Wukom. It's very different from our traditional timetable. So as a political party, we know that all our elections are every 4 years. So the branch elections take place after 4 years. Then once you finish the branch, you go to constituency, region, and then national. With the Teyin and the Wukoms, it's an annual based issue. So every year they have elections because their calendar is an academic year calendar. And so it is fraught with difficulties in clearly identifying who are the delegates in terms of who are the elected people, the president and etc., that are going to be those who are going to vote. And because it's an annual cycle, it's without specific dates. Some people have their election before we begin our cycle. No problem, their delegates are very clear. Some people have their elections while we are in our process. So you can finish your constituency elections, and when you're going to your national, regional elections, some people have had their elections and now have new delegates. And then there's an argument as to, is it the old ones that are allowed to vote or the new ones? Some even have it between the region and the national, and the same argument then erupts. Then some, because they want to remain and vote, won't have elections at all. They stall. And then people who have actually left the tertiary institution want to come back or come back and vote. And our rules are that once there's no election, and more importantly, if you are even in mid-cycle, the ones who started the process are the ones who vote. Now, this doesn't go down well because some people feel it's deliberate, And it has links with who people think will vote for them, who might have to leave or not, at the constituency level, at the regional level, and then finally at the national level. And so you have to actually go through it painstakingly. Over the years, tertiary institutions also increase. So you have a situation where in the past, maybe say in 1994 or 2000, you had a limited number of tertiary institutions. But they are moving up almost exponentially. So we are getting to the point where tertiary institutions voters may quickly outnumber the traditional constituency executives that are allowed, delegates who are allowed to vote. And this is creating tension. We recognize this as a party, and we're looking at to do some constitutional amendments in January of this year. Unfortunately, they didn't take place. So one of the things we have to do is have that constitutional amendment and change the guidelines for the teens and for the youth area and the women's area. But we were saddled with the position that we have with the current constitution. And therefore, notwithstanding the fact that we had put out a delegates list and we thought that all would be well, people were still not satisfied. So it raised its ugly head again on the Friday into the Saturday. And we had to spend a lot of time putting that together. In the end, we got consensus.
In fact, we'll be going into the details, finding out what it is that leadership of the party intends to do. But at the end of the day, I recall you saying that the NDC was the victor.
Yes.
There are many who disagree with you, who believe that looking at the ranker, the level of anxiety even amongst the delegates leading to the process and the aftermath, which, I mean, resulted in some level of clashes between rivalry factions, the exercise was not as smooth as you expected it to be.
I think that to get a good feel of the situation, one has to understand that you are never going to, when we had the negotiation, we said them, look, what you need to accept is that we come to a situation which you can live with. We don't ask you to be happy with it. Everybody would end up with a situation where they will be unhappy. And it's an election. So there's always going to be winners and losers. And the losers will always have a reason why we lost, and the winners will also have a reason why they think they won. We can't go into that as the referees. All we say is, did we do our best to give a level playing field? And we think we did. It wasn't easy, but everybody in the end agreed that this was what we were going to use to work with. And we got winners and we got losers. Congratulations to the winners, commiserations to those who lost. But it's an internal fight. So we expect everybody to come on board. And now we do the reconciliation work that needs to be done as a matter of course to make sure that everybody comes on board. That is not to say that we do not accept that there were issues that have to be resolved. And as I said, we even anticipated some of it by reason of our Special National Congress and the amendment to the Constitution. But that is something that we have to do later down the line and set some parameters for the future to ensure that we don't go through such a process again.
2 persons reportedly sustaining injuries. I don't know what their health status is now. Are you able to provide some updates on the unfortunate clashes that emerged? And deal with the concern that this may degenerate and that it may lead to faults and cracks within the NDC. I'm not sure that's what you want to achieve looking at the theme of your party, which is reorganizing for Victory 2024.
The first thing I'll say is that we condemn the violence that occurred totally. It's totally on NDC. We have made it clear we are not interested in any form of violence within our setup. And therefore, we commend the police for carrying out investigation, identifying perpetrators. They had their cameras there and videotaped themselves what was happening. And we will give them all the support they need. I'll take this opportunity to commend both the police force and our internal security team who were able to calm matters pretty quickly. How did it begin? We had kept quite a bit of time in trying to sort out the delegates list. When we finally did that and we announced that we were ready to start the election, it became clear that there were people in the hall who should not be there. So we asked for the whole hall to be emptied in order that we could now admit those that had to be admitted. And it was clear that people came there with ulterior motives. Who brought them, why they were there, I can't go into. We're hoping the investigation will help us unravel that. But the bottom line is once they got outside, had what happened outside happened inside, we would have had a bigger problem. Our security team advised that everybody should be out. And fortunately, once they were out, people had a way to escape the area. But if it had happened indoors or in the hall, it would have been a totally different story than the one we are telling now. The beauty, or the good part of it, not beauty, the good part of it was that it was brought to order pretty quickly. So after the initial mayhem that occurred, it was brought to order. The police did what they needed to do and brought things under control. Quickly, they helped the EC to... We even felt that at one point, maybe some people didn't want the election to go on. And that could have been part of the reason. But I only put it there as a possibility. Till the police finish their investigation, we will know. But we were, with the advice of the planning committee members present and the security agencies, look, have this election and let it be over and done with. So we went ahead, had the election. And I'm happy to say that when that happened, it was a successful election. And kudos to the EC for the work that they did on the day, but more especially to the security agencies, both external and internal.
Are you holding some individuals accountable? Some of your party members are asking that the candidates, or perhaps those who may have won the election, pay some price for it.
Well, that is in the realms of speculation. Why? Because the police are carrying out an investigation, and we've said anyone who is clearly identified as having been responsible through the investigations, we as a party will take steps to deal with it.
Are you saying you have no idea?
We've heard the rumors, but we cannot work with rumors. And so I'm not even going to begin to talk about speculation. Once the police are involved and an investigation is going on, I'm sure they'll get to the bottom of it. We have a security team as well. I'm sure we'll get to the bottom of it. It could be supporters of a particular candidate. It could have been non-NDC people. They are thugs for hire. Who hired them? Who brought them in? Those are the questions that we need some answers. And because, pardon? They were hired. No, I said they are in our system thugs for hire. They don't belong to MPP. They don't belong to NDC. They are there. If you need things done, they are available to come in. So was that the situation or not? An investigation will unravel that, and then we are in a better position to advise ourselves on the way forward. We condemn it. We are not part of it as a planning team. We hope none of our people are involved in it, but if they are, we will not shield them as a party.
You have a bigger exercise looking up to the next weekend, Saturday. Some say this is a precursor to what we should be expecting, and that you need to take proactive measures to deal with that. What measures are you taking as the planning committee to ensure that this does not degenerate?
As you can see, we're in a hall where we're about to have a planning committee meeting. And one of the things that is going to be designed, there'll be a post-mortem of the events that occurred last Saturday. And then there was also going to be a plan put in place for this Saturday. There are things we can learn, but there are also differences. One, this is an open-air event in a stadium. There are different ways of segregating the various people that are coming, region by region, observers, the main delegates, etc. So the concerns may vary. We also have the difficulty of the numbers. You're looking at 5 times the number that was in Cape Coast minimum. And therefore, the security setup would be a little bit more stringent. And so we hope that certain things will not become a problem on the day. But based on the way the police behave and our internal security operated, I'm quite confident that we'll have a successful Congress on the Saturday. There will be some unhappy people at the end of the day because it's an election. There will be some very happy people at the end of the day. But once again, like on last Saturday, NDC will be the victor.
Yeah, but I'm not sure you're glossing over the lows during the youth and women's wing elections. The fear is this has a bigger stake. Looking at the level of animosity even within your party rank and file ahead of the main exercise, you need to tighten security.
Well, yes, but I'm not going to go into security details or issues on.
But what's going to be unique about it, at least just to give that sense of confidence that the NDC is indeed ready for the exercise?
Well, as I said, if it wasn't for the swift intervention of the police and then subsequently the internal security that we had in place being being where they were, if it wasn't for the security issues that we had put in place, it would have been a different story. We are satisfied that our security worked. Even with the police, it worked. And that for us is fine. Yes, we are not going to sleep on it. Lessons learned from Saturday. It will be tighter because of the numbers. Anyway, regardless of what happened on Saturday, the style of security may also be different. The personnel may be different. But one of the things we've done is, and we said it before, we were looking at 13 polling stations. We are having 17. We want the voting to be over and done with. We are going to let people that have finished able to leave and go back to their regions and wait for the results as they come, as opposed to staying behind. So there are many things we are going to put in place which will ensure, we like to think, a safer and a better Congress on Saturday.
And finally, how do you deal with, of course, your critics who are out there saying what happened on Saturday shows that you're not united and ready to recapture power in 2024?
We were able to do a democratic process, allowing those that had to vote to vote. When the MPP had their elections, their way of dealing with the issues that I have just discussed, nobody in Tescon votes. It affected contestants. People were punished for that. We allowed our Tains to vote. We allowed our Wukoms to vote. We were practicing democracy. We are way ahead when it comes to that factor. Yes, we had challenges. They had challenges. The issues are clear. We know what they are. We know how we are going to resolve our challenges. It is clear. And speaking to you, I haven't tried to fudge any issues. I haven't said that there was no violence and therefore there were MP people who came and did what or not. I've said that anybody who is found culpable will be dealt with, both internally, and we assist the police to do the same. This is the NDC, not the MPP. We will get it right on Saturday.
Your message to supporters out there?
Come and be part of this great historical event taking place on Saturday. The NDC is going to elect new officers to man the party through the 2024 elections because Ghana needs rescuing. We are Ghana's hope. Thank you.
And even as we speak, we can't confirm that that meeting is still underway here in Accra. The likes of the minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, are locked up in that meeting. It's all to fleshing out the modalities ahead of the primaries. Quite a crucial contest the NDC will be having at the weekend already. There's a lot of contest, a lot of anxiety on the part of both the delegates and some of the contestants. The chairmanship race is something to look out for. We have the incumbent General Secretary Johnson Asiedu Nketia going against the incumbent national chairperson of the NDC, Ofosu Ampofu. The two have been crisscrossing the country trying to get the buy-in of delegates as they converge this weekend for that crucial exercise. The General Secretary position is also becoming vacant for the first time in 17 years. So you have the likes of Fifi Koite, who's also running for the position. We have Elvis Efiri-Ankra and the Deputy General Secretary, Otokono, also going into that race. So how will the NDC manage this exercise, and how crucial is it to their reorganization process ahead of the 2024 elections? I want to bring in now Dr. Lidu Seidu, a political scientist at the University of Ghana. Doc, thank you for your time here on The Pulse. So you've heard from the chairman of the planning committee. The weekend wasn't too good for the NDC. Violence erupted, 2 persons sustaining varying degrees of injuries, and it's all because of the rancor and rivalry between ostensibly the youth candidates, if we need to be fair. We're still waiting for the official position from the Ghana Police Service. But of course, if you look at how that contest was, some believe we're just having a spillover and that the leadership of the NDC would have to take proactive measures to avert this from recurring this weekend. What's your take on this?
Thank you so much. What happened over the weekend is something that dented the image of the electoral processes. But electoral violence is a structural thing in developing countries' democracy, especially in Ghana. We have witnessed it in the internal elections, but also competition between even the two major political parties in the country within the Fourth Republic. But to have seen it play out the way it happened over the weekend raises serious concerns. And if you look at what's going to happen this Friday, say the chairmanship position, the general secretary position, and all the other very important positions compared to what happened, compared to the magnitude of the youth organizer positions and then the women's organizer positions, you tend to see that the stakes are going to be very high. Most of these things, I must say, are not party-induced or party-owned. You usually see individual competitors bringing people that they think can help them win the elections in a more forceful manner. So what happened over what I expect the NDC to do is to set up a committee to investigate the disturbances and the culprits that are found to have perpetrated those acts. If they are members of the party, a firm decision and the message should be sent strongly.
At least we're getting a sense of what may happen with regard to that call you're making. The chairperson of the planning committee says the party is leaving everything to the Ghana Police Service.
So I think that is good, but I think the party should go beyond that. If the police service are conducting this because what happened was a breach of public peace, it's criminal within our national constitution. But what will the party do to elements within the party or members of the party who have brought these people to cause this mayhem and to damage the brand of the NDC as a political party? So the NDC has to disassociate itself from this violence, and the best way they can do that is to take a decisive action. If those people are members of the party has a right to punish them, sanction them, dismiss them from the party, or fine them, to show that moving forward we are not going to tolerate violence within our party. And our message is loud and clear. Sell policies to the Ghanaian electorate and tell them how we can behave differently from the governing National New Patriotic Party and all other political parties in this country. If they leave it to just the police service, they are going to deal with the criminal aspect of the law per Ghana Constitution. But what will the NDC say about the image that this has caused to the party? They also have to take an action to disassociate themselves from, as a party, from what has happened, and to also let people who will be coming to the elections that will be happening on the 17th know that the party will not condone and tolerate any act of violence, no matter who you are, whether you are a party person or somebody who is competing has brought you to do this. We are not going to let you do it and go scot-free. We're going to deal with you as a party. That's one of the best ways they can exonerate and clear their name as a political party.
We've just heard from the chairperson a while ago indicate that the crunch meeting is underway. Obviously, he would not put out the security detail. But if we're to check this decisively, how about dealing with the vigilante groups? He says there are thugs for hire. Those are the words of the chairperson of the planning committee. So it appears issues of vigilantism are rearing their ugly heads here again.
Yeah, I think we've done a couple of studies on the activities of these groups. And what came up strongly, contrary to popular opinion, is the fact that vigilante groups are not owned by political parties as per our political institutions. Vigilante groups are established, financed, and resourced and used by elements within political parties that feel expedient to use them to gain political clout and political advantage. They are largely used for the purposes of leverage. So there is a business cycle to the activities of vigilante groups in our political discourse. They are rented, they are used, they are very mobile, they are highly volatile and very violent. And they are for sale, like he mentioned, to all political parties. They can be used for land litigation, disputes, and all those other things. So what we need to do is to not only strengthen and enforce the Vigilantism and other related offences act, but political parties also have to take decisive actions to minimize the role of violence and the use of force in determining the outcome of internal and external elections, but rather encouraging the whole concept of what? Issue-based campaigning, character, experience, competence, and qualifications. Once they are able to project this over violence, it gets to a point that when you are relying on this kind of tax to win elections, you are not going to make it. And people now begin to see that it's a serious disincentive to contesting elections. So political parties also have to take decisive internal actions to discourage the whole concept of godfatherism, and then members within their political parties that use these groups for the purposes of political and business leverage. They should discontinue those things and shouldn't let them profit from it. So it is a serious business that is now affiliated to our politics and it's across all political parties, and it poses a serious danger to the development of our democracy. And I think it is a collaborative effort, not just from the Ghana police and other security agencies, but the political parties as well, to make it unattractive for people to leverage on these groups for electoral purposes.
We're beginning to see a trend already. If, of course, we can make a forecast from that. There's that trend of many of the national executives or the NDC retaining their position. At least that's the trend we witnessed over the weekend. You have the likes of George Opariado, and I wish we could just get some of the results on the screens right now, so it gives us a sense of what we're dealing with in terms of the outcomes of the elections. You have George Opariado, for instance, retaining his seat, except that the margin have closed up a bit this time around in terms of his contest with Broja Jemfi. We'll try and get some of the results for you. And you have, for instance, Hannah Bisu retaining her seat as the women's organizer of the NDC. Same can be said about some of the deputy positions and roles within the NDC. What does that say about what's likely to happen this weekend? You've been paying attention as well to some of the dynamics.
So from a rational voter perspective, the electors think that it is not a good idea to change a winning team. So even though the NDC as a political party lost the 2020 elections to the New Patriotic Party, there were clear signs that the NDC was able to uptake the percentage of votes that they had at the national level. They increased the voter margins compared to what they lost with in 2016. If you look at the number of seats that they had in parliament, they were able to gain traction. They had increased by several number of seats that they took from the governing New Patriotic Party. And you could see the whole element of momentous rise and interest in the activities of the political parties. So the delegates are thinking that if this crop of executives are able to increase our gains, both at the presidential level and also the parliamentary number of seats, why do we have to change them? People always want to be with the winning team. So I think the trend is now showing that maybe it's good we maintain them rather than change them. And if we give them a second opportunity, maybe they'll be able to uptake on what they have, their performance from 2020, and they can hand over power to the party. And if this analysis is correct, then it means that what we're going to see in Friday may not vary so much from what we have seen over this weekend. So people are still retaining confidence and trust in the leadership that led them to the 2020 elections, and thinking that if we give them another opportunity, they'll be able to do better in 2024.
Weekend. Johnson Asiedu Nkita up against Ofosu Ampofo. That's a contest we are all looking at for. And then for the very first time, the General Secretary portfolio of the NDC is becoming vacant after 17 years.
Yeah, I think the chairmanship position is going to be a very serious one. I think the General Asiedu Nketia, former General Secretary, or still General Secretary Asiedu Nketia, and then Ofosu Ampofo, incumbent chairman, are all very kind, industrious, hardcore party people who have made meaningful contributions to the development and growth of the NDC as a political party. And I think they all have unique expertise and experiences that the party will need in 2024. So it is sad that though in political processes, you cannot dissuade somebody from contesting. It is part of their rights if they are qualified to contest to go ahead. But I think the NDC needs both these two very unique characters to be able to lead their campaign in 2024. My fear is that at the end of the day, one of them is going to lose and another is going to win. If care is not taken and the post-electoral unity is not brought on board, the losing candidate may develop a sudden apathy and may want the victor to move ahead and see whether he can win elections for the party. If that happens, then it's going to pose a serious challenge to the electoral victory. What the party can do is to quickly make plans for post-election reconciliation processes, including awarding a very lucrative party position to maybe the losing candidate to be able to bring him on board.
And I just need to take you on briefly on that point. We've not independently verified this, but we've heard, for instance, from the likes of the incumbent chairperson of the NDC, Ofusampo, for himself, say that the general secretary, outgoing now, has put some demands on the table. He was asking, at least he missed that opportunity to be vice presidential candidate of the party, and he would not heed calls not to run for the chairmanship position. His fear is that the NDC may be disintegrated after this contest. Is that a genuine concern?
Everything is possible because we still don't know how Friday is going to pan out. The strategies that they all have on their sleeves, they're very known, and then the unknown ones, the surprises they'll pull, will the processes be seen to be free and fair and credible? All these things will come into play. Even if I lose, and I know I've lost in a very fair manner, and the processes was free and credible, then even the likelihood of me developing apathy will be less than if I suspiciously believe that the processes wasn't free and fair. I don't think it will disintegrate the party. It may create a little bit of apathy on the part of the losing candidate and perhaps very hardcore supporters of that particular candidate. But I still think there's still more time. They can still talk to them, the losing candidate. They can still offer them very lucrative, influential portfolios within political party campaign structure, but also even within government if they win, to be able to bring them on board. I don't think it will completely disintegrate the party. It may create a little bit of fraction and disunity, but I still believe it's something that the party can still bring on board, bring the feudal factions on board, and be able to get them. I think they all want to contribute to the betterment of the NDC. And losing the position that you are vying for doesn't mean that you still wouldn't have a role to play in contributing to the victory of the party. There are still a lot of roles that the party can assign to the losing candidate in the campaign processes, but also even when they eventually win national elections and in government. So I still think there's a lot that can be offered on the table as part of the negotiation process to get the losing candidate to come on board. Whatever the issue might be, the NDC will need both General Asedo Ketia and Chairman Ampofo in their campaign in 2024. You
want to hazard a guess as to who may win?
No, please.
Anyway, we'll leave that for now. Dr. Halidu Seidu, thank you for your time here on The Pulse. Political scientist at the University of Ghana. This afternoon, mixed reactions greeting the Ghana Union of Traders directive to members of the business community to consider adjusting prices of goods and services as the cedi gains marginal stability. You'll recall the cedi ranked amongst the worst performing legal tenders in the world, forcing traders to shut down their shops last month in protest. In the last few weeks, the Ghana cedi has seen some level of appreciation against the US dollar and is now trading at least 12 Ghana cedis. That's the range for now. Well, leadership of the Ghana Union Traders has asked members to review their pricing to reflect the current situation. But the business community is divided. While some have already started reducing their prices, others say that an immediate reduction in prices will lead to huge losses. My colleague Hannah Odami has been engaging some of the traders here in Accra.
Members of the Ghana Union of Traders Association were not enthused months ago when the country experienced high inflation and depreciation of the cedi. They asked for immediate government intervention. After what seems to be some stabilization of the cedi against the dollar, leadership of the Traders Union requested their members to reduce the prices of goods to correspond with the trend. This was met with mixed responses.
The goods has come down small because of the stable of the dollar. Now, dollar is almost 13.4 now, I'm speaking today. So that's why we are also reduced the goods about 35% now. Things were selling at 350 Ghana cedis and now sold it at 280 Ghana cedis. So because of the foreigners issue, so some of the foreign shops are closing. So now the foreigners can never deposit money to the black market and then forest bureau, because you know some of them doesn't have bank accounts. So any sales they are making, they deposit to the forest bureau and then the black market people. The only thing, you write your name and the amount you brought. So now forest bureau and black market people have dollar, but you don't have cedis to buy more dollar again. So now dollar has come down. So the government wants the dollar to come down, things come down more. It might reduce the duty, because now we hear that duty will go up and the taxes are going up. If that one happen, definitely goods will be going up after Christmas.
It's a good suggestion he has brought up, but then some of us imported at 15.5 for the US dollar. The benchmark has all gone up 100%. Rates on loans are still high. How do I reduce the prices unless I've sold them? We can't tell if the dollar will go up again. We are in the second or third week in December. Let's assume it goes up. If I should reduce it now, I will lose. Space touch faultless was being sold at 18 cents. It's not 34 cedis. They will not reduce it. So how do I reduce my product? It can't be possible. Until the benchmark is reduced, the dollar becomes stable. We can't reduce the prices.
We just say good president wakasa ye, but more hand home be because a system. Ubi on kaso kotadi o Soviet kobusa say aha ne boy say ha ne boy de say nti de obey na adwen say obey ne de chinchin ebegu ho de obeti so ye beto nti we anu abe adjust na ho nya de say obi force no ho ana say eye no kre dollar ne course ro no na obi ato ne nemam kwan afa so calculate ya utimi de tum no aba for ma passe kwan na so na den e calculate ne ne ma ne de emra fo no obi ya de e ho nto no. But so you are doing say abedu side. Oh, you don't want to you beto cable. Oh, now to cable into wire and then about time ross. About affective or Ubi be kwabo so kwan about affecting or nti ye nyina ye tutu This dollar na ba fom. Obi amfa ba nyina obi aso, obi amfa tu nyina obi aso. Any based on currency no na de tutu. Say ba fom. Akwa fa say the frost no. Emphasize the insane. A piece of man. He
first thanked the Gutta president for the directive, and he's also saying that he's appealing to his colleagues in the association that if it's possible and within their means to reduce the prices, they should. Otherwise, it may even affect them eventually. They do not, because people will end up going to other places. They are competitors.
That Gutta people, we've not seen them as at now. They've not spoke to us anything. They've not told us anything yet. So we are all sitting down waiting for them.
They are requesting if you can reduce your prices a bit.
And that's what I'm saying. As at now, our bosses, they most of the time they can do something about that. But we don't know what we can see as at now. We workers. Yeah.
But so do you think it's possible to reduce price? Is it possible?
Oh yes. To me, it's possible, because we've heard that some things have even dropped down. So we are hoping better that by next year everything will be good. Because now the things are going up again. Yeah. Because on Saturday we saw the dollar came down roughly 13 to 12. So things dropped down just a little. But as at now I'm speaking, they can even increase it back. So we don't know.
The traders say they continue to bank on further interventions from government to put them back on a business footing that they lost due to unprecedented escalation of the city. For JoyNews, I am Hannah Odami.
Let's bring in now President of Gutta, Dr. Joseph Obeng. Thank you for joining us here on The Pulse. Members of the business community are obviously divided over your directive. How far have you gone in terms of engaging the business community on at least trying to adjust their prices?
We can only appeal to the conscience of the traders. the same way we appealed on their conscience to increase their prices when the exchange rate was very high. And so we know we are not in a price control regime. And for that matter, you should know that we cannot impose anybody. But then we are only appealing. We can also have good faith on the good people of Ghana, that when the exchange rate was high, where businesses were disadvantaged, we have to increase our price. When the exchange rate, the city has gained some value, then of course we have to transfer some of the gains to the consuming public. And that is what we have to do naturally. Our challenge here, however, is that most of our members have bought the forest at earlier on at a very higher price. You know, we reached a peak of 15.5, and then now it has dropped to below 13, around 12.5. So one have to strike the reasonable average to make sure that we are able to break even, at the same time transferring some of the gains to the consuming public. And this is must do, because if you do not, much as we agree that most of the forest to rise up again before you can be competitive, no, because there are other people who are getting, who are buying the dollar at a cheaper rate now, and those people are not going to wait. They are going to reduce their prices. So all that we have to do is to strike the reasonable averages, much as we know that most of us are going to lose some capital out of this price.
Dr. Obeng, you control a significant
market,
right?
And so it is.
And Dr. Obeng, you control a significant portion of the Ghanaian market. How is it that you're not able to convince your members to simply comply with your orders?
Oh no, this is not. I would say instructions. This is an appeal. We advise. We advise our members on what to do. You see, sometimes it's not even prudent to overprice yourself out of the market, because once you bought your dollar at a higher rate, and then you maintain your prices high, other people are going to sell cheaper. And when it happens like that, it means that you are unable to service your debt to the banks and also to service your suppliers. So then you are in a fix as to what to do. That's why we say that they should go back to the calculations, strike the reasonable averages, and we sympathize on all of us, because this is a very difficult time for trading, because it is not in our own interest that we bought the prices, the forest at a higher price, and then fortunately also the forest has come down. So then we have to make the balances that we can, so that we can remain significant and relevant in the trading that we do. So we are only advising them so that they do not even lose further by way of overpricing themselves out of the market.
At the time,
it's an advice that goes to our members to stay afloat in business, and also advantage to show good faith to the consuming public that when the exchange rate went up, we increased our prices, not because we hate the consuming public, but because of that factor. And now that it has come down, we also have to show good faith and compensate the consuming public in this regard. And we are also encouraging government to sustain. The key word here is how government is going to be able to sustain the whole process. Because much as we are saying that the price has gone down, and then we appeal to our members to reduce, when it goes up again, the same appeal will go the opposite direction for us to up the prices. And so we have to be able to sustain whatever efforts that we have put in place. We appreciate government efforts, and then We also appreciate the Bank of Ghana's efforts, but they should do everything possible to sustain this case that we are getting.
At the time you're making the demand, the dollar was crossing the 6 cedis, 5 cedis margin. Now you're way beyond the 10 Ghana cedis mark. So if that's what we're dealing with now, then I guess you have some difficulties in trying to convince your members to try and adjust their prices.
And the problem is, if you say that, is it really the time to do this? Then we will ask that, when is the time? In that case, are we saying that we have to wait till when we were at 6.2? Is it realistic demand? And that's why we say that there's a reasonable period of time, and there's a quite, even though not too big difference, but there's a significant reduction in or appreciation of the value, for which we can also transfer some to the consuming public. The whole thing is showing good faith to our consumers, because the trading that we do not with our customers, and so it is even important for us to give some respite for the consuming public, so that they can also continue to patronize.
And so, as we wrap up with this conversation, Dr. Obeng, right? Yes, but actually,
this is not something that one can impose, because we are not in a price control regime. As you know, we are in a very liberalized trade, and everybody have his way of doing his calculation. And so, if somebody has bought at 15.5, then of course the person is challenged to reduce his price, but he also have to factor other things, because you can still remain at that price, because other people who are going to get the dollar at a cheaper price are also going to sell at a reduced price. So we have to do the reasonable balances and stay afloat. And
finally, you're saying that, and you insist that this is still a difficult time to be doing business. What more expectations do you have from government in that regard?
Yeah, what we expect government to do is to ensure sustainability of whatever program or effort they are making to let the city gain some value. It is very important that we sustain it. If it is not sustained, then maybe the worst will even happen. So that's what we are expecting. And then also, the factors of costing varies. Duties are part, the VAT has been increased. Next year is going to come up, and that one is also going to push up the cost. Benchmark discounts have been taken off the table. And so coming next year, we have these things also to contend with. And so if government intention is also to alleviate the plight of the consuming public, then they have to think about these factors that I'm talking about. Otherwise, they will get some gains at one point, and another time it also go up, which will not augur well for us.
Grateful. Dr. Joseph Obeng is president of the Ghana Union of Traders Association. Still ahead, we're looking at the fresh demand coming through from the Trade Union Congress. They are asking government to be cautious about the debt exchange program and to exempt pensioners from the scheme. We'll talk about that when we return. Please stay. Welcome back. The Trade Union Congress, TUC, has cautioned government to ensure that they do not touch pension funds of workers else they wouldn't care thereof. The union has given government a one-week ultimatum to announce an exemption for pension funds from the government-announced debt exchange program. Addressing a news conference Monday, Secretary General of TUC, Dr. Anthony Alban, says workers must brace for an industrial action to protect their funds.
Already pension is low. And we would have thought that our government would do everything to protect even the small pension that we have. Instead, they are introducing programs inspired by IMF to cut further pension income. And as we used to say, we no go sit down. Yes. Therefore, the Trade Union Congress and all its affiliate national unions have decided that pension funds of our members will not be part of the domestic debt exchange program. Let me repeat that one. The TUC and all our affiliates have decided, and this is a very firm decision, that the pension funds of our members will not be part of the domestic debt exchange program. So, earlier this morning, we have dispatched a letter to the Minister for Finance, and we are demanding that all pension funds invested in government bonds should be completely exempted from the domestic debt exchange program. We are also demanding in that letter that within 1 week from today, government should publicly announce that all pension funds, including SNIT, are exempted from the debt exchange program. Again, in the letter, we have served notice that if government fails to accede to our demand within 1 week, we will advise ourselves. But the letter has been delivered, and I made sure those who took the letter signed. So, comrades, on the debt exchange program, this is our position. It is simple and very clear. And if government refuses to exempt pension funds, including SNIT, we will advise ourselves. I am sure they understand that. And the red that we are in is enough demonstration that we are not joking. We are not bluffing. So on this note, I'll now move to some of the issues we raised in the budget, in the 2023 budget. That's quite a lot, so please exercise patience. In the budget, government announced various IMF-inspired measures to deal with the economic and financial crisis, some of which are clearly inappropriate and wrong. And they include the following. Number one, taxation. Government has announced increases in taxes starting from January 2023 in this current economic situation. And you know what they touched? VAT, which is indirect consumption tax, affects everybody equally, whether you are poor or you are rich. And the value-added tax rate is projected to go up by 2.5 percentage points. But if you work percentage points, it's getting to about 14% increase. They have also increased the maximum personal income tax margin from 30% to 35%. Currently, if you earn $4,000 a month, you're already in the high bracket. And they are moving you to 35%, which leaves less money in your pocket for you and your family in these current economic conditions.
Dr. Kwabena Nyako Otu is an economist for the Trade Union Congress. He joins us via Zoom now. Thanks, Doc, for your time. So you say that government has defaulted in the payment of pension contributions of some 600,000 public sector workers. So how much in terms of the quantity are we referring to here?
I do not have the actual figures, but what we know is that since about the first quarter of this year, contributions to pensions, particularly the second tier, have not been coming from government. And these are contributions government has to make on behalf of government workers. He has to pay for the second tier or the third-tier pension scheme.
So let's deal with the main concern, the debt exchange program. You have concerns and fears that the exercise may not augur well for pensioners. What's your independent assessment of the exercise? At least the government says it's a voluntary exercise. So we've not seen anything contrary to that, nor a legislative order asking that bondholders carry out the debt exchange program. So you could opt out, or perhaps impress on the fund managers to opt out of the program.
Okay, so I mean the thing. I mean, my assessment cannot be an independent assessment. My assessment is based on my views as a trade unionist and as a worker of the Trade Union Congress. It's based on our assessment. You may not describe it as independent, but that is our view. Our view is that it is voluntary, but if you look at the details of it, it is not entirely voluntary. So, for example, I have a pension fund invested in bond, which is due in 2023. Now, government is saying that I should voluntarily agree to push it to 2027. Unfortunately, if I don't do that, there are indications that my pension fund will not be paid. If I don't do that, my pension fund will not be paid. And as the Deputy Minister for Finance indicated earlier on last week, those that refuse to be part of that voluntary debt exchange program are on their own. So in actual fact, it is not voluntary as it's being made to appear. We can ask our pension fund managers not to participate, but we are not sure what will happen when our pension funds invested in bond actually become due in, say, 2023. We are not sure of it. That is why we are asking government to publicly announce that all pension funds are exempted. And if you are exempted, then it is treated as funds invested in treasury bills. We have a guarantee that when they become due, government will pay.
Is it not the case that you're placing too much on the table of government as the Trades Union Congress? You're just coming out from negotiations with government on a pay rise, 60% you're asking for, and now you're putting a fresh demand on the table. Are you doing all of this oblivious of the fact that we're in an economic crisis?
We are not oblivious of the fact that we are in economic crisis. What many people get wrong is that crisis affects workers. So when you say, for example, the high deficit, it's also a household worker component to that high deficit and high debt. Think of a worker receiving 1,800 Ghana cedis in this economy, paying lorry fare, transport fares to and from work every day, catering for about 3 children and a wife or a husband. Don't you think that worker is also in a deficit? We are protecting our interests, the interests of our members. And if doing so means that we are placing too much on government's plate, so be it. I'm not sure you're asking us how to protect the interests of the members that have entrusted their interests to us.
What will be your next line of action? At least you're not happy, government says it's going ahead with the program. What are you likely to do?
So the Secretary General was clear that we will advise ourselves, and government will definitely hear from us. It's also very clear that in the coming week, I think on Wednesday, there will be a steering committee meeting. And then on Thursday, Friday, there will be a meeting of the General Council of the TUC, which is the second highest decision-making body of the TUC. And at those meetings, we will detail the plans we intend to follow if government fails to accede to our request. And when that time comes, you will hear from us. You will know exactly what we'll be doing. But definitely, we will advise ourselves if government does not accede to our request.
We're grateful. Dr. Nyako, thank you for spending some time with us here on the pulse. Well, you may have experienced it. If you've not, we need to tell you about it. A moderate tremor was felt in some parts of Accra in the early parts of today. The epicenter was the western part of Accra, 10 kilometers from Bawe. It took place around 11:53 a.m. local time and occurred 3 times in the space of 5 hours. Well, the National Disaster Management Organization has issued a statement asking the public to be calm about this. Let's get you excerpts of that very quickly. It reads that citizens of Accra, Kasua and its environs have experienced some 2 earth tremors in the morning and around 11:55 a.m. NADMO is working closely with the Ghana Geological Survey Authority to obtain the exact details of the tremor, including the magnitude and epicenters. The public will duly be informed, and any development will also be communicated. The tremors were not damaging, and there's no reported destruction of lives and property. NADMO is calling on all citizens to remain calm. They are encouraged to go about their normal duties. Homeowners in affected areas are encouraged to inspect their buildings for possible cracks and seek technical advice from engineers and other building experts. Information sharing is important, but let's be mindful of the kinds of information we absorb on social media in order to be safe and go around our duties without the needless panic. Well, let's get more from the George Isi, who's Communications Director for NADMO. He's joining us via phone now. Thank you, sir, for your time. So have you gathered more information after the release of the statement? You're still looking for the epicenters, but we have a sense that it's around Kaswa and its environs. Any more information on this?
You said something I didn't hear. You said something right now.
Yes. So I was just talking about the fact that in your statement, you indicated that you're collaborating with the Geological Survey Department to try and assess the epicenter of the tremor. But obviously, you have an idea of where it happened, around Kaswa and its environs. I'm asking if there's any updates or a more precise location now of the epicenters.
No, we haven't gotten that yet. You know, Geological Services Department or Authority, they can give us those detailed facts. We are yet to get that information from them.
Then you are asking the general public not to panic. Is it the case that you're receiving information that you feel is not accurate?
No, you know, we started getting some information on social media. People are putting out the magnitude 4.0 and others, and that has not been confirmed by DGSA. And so we felt, no, we should let the public be calm and not just consume any information and get panicky. Yes, some people first felt it in our offices. At NADMO, we felt it, and we've gotten information from GIZ people, the office in East Legon, and other places. So, yes, people have felt it, and some are worried. The first one, the second, and, you know, people are expecting the aftershock. And so that's the third one coming. But as of now, we've not gotten hint of any third tremor yet. And so that's why we are saying people should calm down. You know, normally the before shock, the main shock, and the aftershock. And so people are expecting the third one, you know, to come. That is our kind. We said, no, let's issue the release and calm people down and not be too worried and panicky about the situation. And not get misinformed by social media as well.
You're asking the general public to equally be on the lookout for faults or cracks on their buildings. Many have not even experienced the situation before. So when it happens, what more are you advising?
Oh, no. We're advising if you are within your room or something, whatever, get under a bed or your table. And if you can get out fast to a plain field, we encourage that. We don't advise people standing by tall buildings and under buildings or electrical poles and those things. We advise people to get far away from such places as possible so that their life will not be in danger. We encourage people to do that.
For now, what are you doing in the Kasua community and other areas?
Oh, no. Our men are on standby. We ourselves at the headquarters are also on standby for any information. But for now, since normally the time in between the before shock, main shock, and aftershock is not that long, but since it's been over 3-4 hours after the main shock, we are believing that is not likely to come. But however, we shouldn't rule it out completely and should be on the lookout and try to keep ourselves safe as much as possible.
There's also a question about the performance of your duty. Many are asking...
Come again?
Many are asking how come NATMO never got intelligence on this?
Hello?
There are many asking why NATMO did not get some prior information on this.
Some current information.
Some prior information.
Oh, okay. No, you know, the earthquake, the experts will tell you they cannot forecast it. They cannot foretell it, you know. But we have equipment at the NATMO headquarters. We put one at Weija. In fact, the Japanese embassy collaborated with us to do that. But that equipment measures main earthquake. And so it should be above about 5 to 5.5 to 6. The magnitude measured on the Richter scale before it will pick it. Main, it doesn't pick anything below those magnitudes. And that is how we didn't get any signal at all. In fact, we're asking ourselves, how come we have some equipment at our headquarters, at Weija and others, to give us information prior to the happening. And we're told, no, those ones measure main earthquake. And so the magnitude should be about 5.5 before it can pick it and then give us signals before. So
it's not accurate to say you lacked capacity to detect this?
Oh, no, the tremors, no, we don't have that capacity to. We have some, the Japanese embassy is giving us some equipment. We have them there, but they are to measure main earthquake, and so it must be at a certain magnitude before it will pick it. This time, we rely solely on the Ghana Geological Survey Authority for information and data on earthquake and its happenings.
So, what's the way forward? What should we expect in the coming days?
Yeah, we are entreating. That's why we say everybody should be calm. We are also in collaboration with Geological Survey Authority. As and when they get us the official magnitude and the epicenter, we'll be able to relay to the public through your medium. That's what we are saying, and that's exactly what we are going to do.
All right then. George AEC is Director of Communications for the National Disaster Management Organization. The Northeast Regional Director of Highways, Engineer Andrew Okre, has revealed that the construction firm working on the Nalerigu-Nankpanduri and Wulugu stretch of roads has threatened to abandon the project over non-payment. He also confirmed reports that the contractor, City Limited, has begun demobilizing its equipment and key staff from its camp located at Pamale in Bumpurugu. There's more in the following report.
The Northeast Regional Coordinating Council held its end-of-year meeting to review its activities for the year 2020 and plan on how to deliver effective coordination of public service in the region. The meeting, which the council is mandated to hold at least twice a year, also provides the opportunity for heads of public services to provide and present their success and challenges. Regional Minister Idana Zakari presented an overview of the developmental achievements and challenges for the year. At the meeting, the Regional Director of the Ghana Highways Authority, Engineer Andrew Okere, faced tough interrogation from members of the council, especially the chief executives of the various district and municipal assemblies, who wanted explanations for the continued delay in the completion of road projects in their respective areas. The municipal chief executive for West Mampresi, Arimia Osomolaki, asked the director to explain the reason for the stoppage of upgrading works on the 38-kilometer Wulugu-Wiase Road project, which was commenced in 2018 by the Chinese City Ghana Construction Limited. The municipal presiding officer, Ibrahim Sibian, added that unless the road was completed, the operations of the new ultra-modern STEM Senior High School at Pasingpe will be severely disrupted.
That stretch of road was full of culverts, but they are all removed. Per your plan, there's not going to be any culvert there. But it's a place that is liable to flood around that stretch of road. So what action have you taken so far to remedy the situation? Because next year, January, the school will start with enrollment of students.
The district chief executive for Bunkurgu, Joseph Loknan, on the other hand, questioned the director about the Nalerugu-Napanduri Bunkurgu road project, which has been undertaken by the same Chinese construction firm. In his response, the highways director said the challenge was due to non-payment to the contractor.
The issue is because of delayed payment, they wrote and then they were saying that they might want to terminate. But I know that the ministry is working hard to find a solution to that. Because that one, we have written to the ministry, passed on their concerns to them. The Wulugu is also being handled by the same contractor, so the issues are similar. So they have passed a letter through me recently to head office and to the ministry, and I know the ministry is working on it to have that project in the very near future kickstarted.
The upgrading of both roads was awarded in 2018 and 2019 respectively. However, work has since stalled on both roads after the 2020 election.
But as I said, whatever letter they pass through us, we have sent it to ministry. So we are expecting a response from ministry, and then we can adequately brief you. And I think the employer is finding means to address that situation for now.
And our road crashes in Ghana have seen an 18% reduction this year against figures the same period last year, in augmenting efforts to reduce the carnage, especially this U-time. The tipper track operators are being engaged on road safety measures. There's more in this report.
Statistics available at the National Road Safety Authority reveal 30,000 road crashes were recorded from January to October in the Ashanti region, with a little over 3,500 persons sustaining various degrees of injury. The latter represents a 6.6% reduction in road crash injuries as against the same period in 2021. As part of its social responsibilities, Zonda Tech Limited, a truck dealership company, has instituted a quarterly road safety sensitization program to help reduce fatalities. Representatives from the Motor Traffic and Transport Unit of Police, the National Road Safety Authority, and the Drivers and Vehicle Licensing Authority took turns to educate tipper truck drivers on road safety. Human Resource Manager of Zonda Tech Limited, Daniel Insebwa Amwa, says
apologies for that, but let's stay on the transport sector because there's a developing issue where commuters are also demanding a reduction in transport fares as fuel prices at the pumps begin to drop. Joining us now is the General Secretary of the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, Godfred Abulbiri. Thank you for your time. We obviously are seeing that you are not doing anything about your fares in spite of what you would say it's a marginal decrease in the prices of fuel. Some even say that's significant, going by how you quickly demanded for an increase in fares when we saw the prices of fuel increase on the markets. But now it's coming down and you're failing to also reduce prices in accordance with what's happening to the fuel on the market. What do you say to clients and customers who are increasingly asking for you to reduce your fares? Mr. Bulbury, if you can hear me, I'm just asking what you have to tell customers or clients who are asking that you reduce fares in the coming days.
Hello?
Hello, sir. I hope you can hear me. I'm just asking what your message is to customers, commuters who are also asking you to reduce your fares in the coming days.
Well, I just don't think that the particular issue about fuel being reduced by a certain margin is enough for commuters just to be sharply requesting for fare reduction. I don't think that is fair. You see, the fact is that we normally have some kind of accumulated fuel in price to certain buildup before we come for fare increment. Now, if they just said that the step down is from 23.50 as it were, and came down to 20 point something, now around 80 point something. that doesn't reach the initial point at where we had increased our fares. It was 15.99, I believe you are aware. So by that sharp request that fares should be reduced, I think they have not considered the factors that we normally use in calculating our fare increment.
And we definitely are seeing a marginal decrease, you agree? It's no longer 15 on the market. So it's justifiable when someone says, well, we're seeing some change, I mean, in terms of the trend on the market. So try and do something about your fares.
Are you saying the fuel is now 15?
Well, we're seeing some changes on the market. That's what I'm saying.
When you say changes, I don't answer the question. When you say changes, what exactly do you mean?
Yeah, it's not the same way it used to be.
To what margin? That's the question you should ask first. Do you get me?
I'm with you, sir.
Good. And so fuel has reduced. The question we should ask was to what margin? And you heard me saying that. By October, we had increased our fares by 90%. And then it was around 15.99. That's the price per liter. And now, within the third day, it shot up to 23.49 and 23.50 at some places per liter. So because of that, there was no even any roundtable negotiation to do any fare adjustment again. People had to increase hypothetically just to meet their operational cost. And the bottom line is that if that margin now is what we are seeing, it's coming down slowly and slowly. And people will ask us to reduce fares.
Okay.
And I'm saying that is not fair for now.
What's the level of engagement between your side and the Ghana Transport Commission? Of course, you've been engaging.
The engagement I am referring to,
yeah,
usually it's about when fuel price goes up, from its first pricing window after a fare increment, it moves to second and third pricing window. And then that build up gets a certain margin. And then when we now want to write and initiate the negotiation table for fare increment, we do now a survey of components, other components like the spare parts, the exchange rate, and then the fees as per the statutory budgetary increment to government fees all round, and then also refer to what? Increment on other lubricants and other parts. We normally pick up these factors and then take a certain percentage of their increment and then add up to get that fare increment rate. So when fuel comes down and the others remain constant, and then we have been saying often that the fuel aspect is only about 30% the running cost of commercial cars. So when that one comes down, I don't know what informs us just to say that we should rush to decrease fares when the other factors are remaining constant.
We're grateful that you've been able to join us. That's the General Secretary of GPRTU, Godfred Blueberry, speaking to us there. Now, in today's edition of People's Voice, residents of La Paz are fuming over what they say is government's seeming reluctance to resolve the difficult economic conditions. Take a listen.
For business, if you are a business, I
say, I want to about country anymore. Young boys, I have a bread. Intama Sabi, Cronin, Yama, as I started on my anymore. Intaka, your best president say, and come my Bibia, any other Antonio Coemu, because say young boys in started bra at the Cronin, maybe. And a back country no more.
A brand dorsal, a brand dorsal. It's how you 20 city who to mean the Dianapa. Adre Ghana, Madagana, where who said a Fatagana today, the 3 more day. Because on Ukraine, Mecano, because Shasanapa, Lorry Fair. Now, wait, no, put enough. No, put me in concern Bao. Oka, Umbabio, this is Obabisiano Waba. They have me cry, they have me buy a and we 20 city who to win the day. Ghana, I can't say.
Woman, yes, is here. Yes, is here. Ghana for munje sisie Ghana for munje sisie o tom na abane bre na abane bre munje sisie dokunu 2 city and now kwa say 4 city dokunu 1 city okwa dey say 3 city ya pamucho any obia na Oscar ya hiafu o komedi yen
esem no boy yedin nta mo nkofo wo mo to brodo a o mo kasa brodo no osusai sani me ama me no so to me ka fe esam no ka fo di bi ato so ntia sra Ghana mpanyimfo no o mo mo yesam no se o mo nto esam no so na ma me no ye brodo no on to me nye brodo no wa enya funtu me ntobi eska funtu me ntobi se sa wo se brodo aye cocaine obi ba no so to brodo a o se brodo o bo price cha no se brodo na o to no o ye san wo bi san se o ye san wo ka chanse brodo ni ye 2 cedi na 25 as wa de eje okọ no che wo brodo ni wom
Altoma yede e so ma peni ni na nkofo na omo hwe bibi ho youth na ye wo me sua pe ota na ebre kwa obesu ewie na asa da kwọtọ edro ana so da kwa ya sabe ni nya ye ebre e so ma ye ebre o ma peni pe wata no yi so bra for ma ye na ye so enye ska na no ya di too much
aduma bi ani ho aduma ni ho driver ya tu petrol musa ji se mi ton pe ota Piota, 1 bag, you turn to say, they be a to the name. They be a to them at day, Ghana, day. Young boys, who be saying sorry, and I said day. Yes, Ramwa, mucho when you share bread, drivers for this Piota bag, Bako, say 12 city, 10 city. We once walk over Kubako sister, who not 10 city in a video. Yes, Ramumba boy, 124. Yeah, ice.
And thanks for staying with us here on The Pulse. We'll be back shortly. And you're welcome back. The United States Ambassador to Ghana, Virginia Palmer, has noted with concern that freedom of speech has been under threat in Ghana. Ghana earlier this year dropped 30 places from 2021 to rank 60th on the World Press Freedom Index for 2022. This follows a series of red flags issued by civil society groups and the U.S. State Department, which expressed worry over the unlawful arrest of some journalists working here in Ghana. Speaking on foreign affairs, Ambassador Palmer indicated that there's room for improvement on issues of press freedom here in Ghana and also in the U.S.
The U.S. Human Rights Report, I'm a political officer, so I've written many of those reports during my career, and I view them as a helpful tool to people in government who say, oh, look, this is an issue of concern to the international community, and so that good guys, in government and outside of government have space to improve human rights. And Ghana and the United States share common democratic values, but both of us have room to improve. So indeed, I'm afraid that freedom of speech, which is a huge, important value to Ghana's success, has been under threat. You dropped something like 30 places in the international ranking. And so, indeed, we have called attention of that to the government. And I've been happy to celebrate the success of Ghana's free press at things like the West Africa Journalist Association Awards and the Ghana Journalist Association Awards. And let me say to you, while we're sitting here, how important what you do is to Ghana's democracy, to the transparency of the business environment. I think it's just good for Ghana's economy and whole system.
These findings were in 2021, then and now. Do you see an improvement?
I think there's more attention to the issue, and there have been arrests, though, of journalists for various things, and we track that very carefully and with concern.
If we're to improve, which areas should we be focused on as a nation?
I think, it's an uncomfortable position for politicians to have to know that they're going to get called out by journalists, and I think everybody has to acknowledge that that's important to the whole process, and it's important to success. That things will get done better if people know that at the end of the day they're going to get examined.
And be sure to catch a repeat or the full interview of my conversation with the U.S. ambassador on all of our Joy News platforms on social media and online at myjoyonline.com. But later tonight on PM Express, Evans Mensah will be having a conversation with the Minority Chief Whip Muntaka Mubarak. Excerpts of what he indicates is his displeasure about the posture of the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagwin, who he says is becoming gradually a tyrant.
Article 82 clearly states that, 82.4, that the person whose this censure is against will have to be heard during the debate. Very clear that he will be heard during. And for me, fortunately, I didn't go to Achimota, I didn't go to Presec, but during the debate cannot be referred to any other thing. It's simply saying that when the thing is happening, no, he should be heard.
But the Constitution also says that after the vote of censorship, the president may. Are you aware of that?
I can tell you that this May here, every president will know if 2/3 of Parliament says remove this minister, and you choose not to remove the minister, you know what it means? Parliament will not receive that minister, and it could lead to you yourself, President, going to vote of, process to remove you from office. Because if let's pray tomorrow we get 2/3, and then President Nanado says that, oh, even though 2/3 of you have said I should remove him, I'm not removing him. I can assure you the next day we'll file another process to remove the president from office. That means now the problem of the country has moved from the finance minister to the president himself.
Well, excerpts of his previous conversation on PM Express with my colleague Aisha Ibrahim. But later tonight, you'll get a full sense of what the concerns of the Minority Chief Whip is with Evans Mensah on PM Express. That's all we have for you here on the polls. I am Blessed Sogah. Log on to myjoyonline.com. Updates there for you. A lot of stories to catch up on. Next is Let's Talk Showbiz. Stay on the JoyNews channel.